Anything you want to say, babes?
I just want to say thank you very much to everyone that's out there fighting for me. The team that's come together, and the support has been amazing. I've got a table full of rock stars here that are all working tirelessly around the clock fighting for this cause with me. And I just want all you guys out there across the world to know that I'm going to justify your effort, and I'm going to come back stronger and bigger and badder. And once I get back on my feet, we're going to justify all this. Make sure that all you guys' efforts don't go unnoticed. We're going to come together and have a huge, huge party.
Oh, Suki now. Hell yeah. I know my dogs are watching. And if you ain't, I know you will be. And if you are my dogs and you are watching, you will be. Because I'm Swede and I'm here to help you get busy living. What's that? We're going on one epic adventure every single month for 55 months in a row. We got 15 down. We got 40 to go. Going to Seattle for New Year's. Who's coming with me? Can I get a hell yeah? So have you ever felt like you're caught in a never-ending eat, work, sleep, eat, work, sleep? You know what I mean? Are you sick and tired of always being sick and tired of all the work and no play? Most of us have. And many of us have not found a way out. So my mission and the mission of us to get busy living is we're going to talk about how easy it is for any one of us to become a slave to the grind, or how to escape, avoid, overcome, and eliminate burnout. But first, since nothing is worth having if it ain't worth sharing, please allow me to welcome to the stage my dazzling co-host out of Los Angeles, the D Rex. The trumpet's broken.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I
don't
like
stutter
that.
often. I don't stutter
I like
often.
that. But you know what?
D-Rex.
I am so happy to be here once again. And hello, my friend, and hello to our friends who are just tuning in. We would really like to hear from you in the comment section today. Especially, we want to hear where you're from. Like, can you just tell us where you're tuning in from? Because, a big part of this Get Busy Living project is that we're traveling all around. I mean, when I say all around, it doesn't have to be that far, but we're traveling out into the world, and we're making friends, we're making connections, and you're making a connection by tuning in, which is wonderful that you show up every week, and we want to hear where you're from. And it actually would really help a lot if you would press that little like button and subscribe, because that truly, truly helps get the word out and helps this podcast. If you want to help us, that's the best way.
Hell yeah. What's up, B.I.Z.? Bobby Busy Burns is in the house. I know there's more of you out there, so let us know. Biz, where you at? Are you coming at us live from the EPA? Give us a hell yeah if that's where you're at. And as you know, D-Rex, whenever the EPA comes up, we got to remind people not to give up the ship. So look, yes. D-Rex, I know that last week you were not with us, and I'm super proud of you. You were getting busy living. And for those of you that have been with us throughout this journey, you know that we're building a community here. We want people to be motivated to get busy living. And we recognize that, we're just trying to figure it out as we go as well. There's been times in my life when I've been better at it. There's been times in my life where I didn't get busy living at all. And there's been times in my life where that's all I did, but a lot of folks, struggle with figuring it out. And, I have been talking about this, and throughout the course of this podcast, we try to give people nuggets of information, and it's not like we're experts. It's not like I'm not a trained psychiatrist. I'm not a clinical professional. We've talked about nutrition. We've talked about psychology. We've talked about survival. We've talked about, all these topics, centenarians and emotional intelligence and kidney donations and brain damage. And we're not experts. But what we are is we're trying to share with you, and we're trying to bring to something to you each week that is, a nugget of information, something worth sharing, And so hopefully, as we live and learn and share it with you, you guys can live and learn with us and keep coming back to keep on, getting busy living with us. So you were talking, D-Rex, about burnout. And so I was like, this is a great thing to share with our audience, because it happens to the best of us.
Oh my goodness. Well, especially during the holidays, like it is right now. I just feel like it'd be more common to be feeling burnt out during the holidays than to be feeling relaxed. And I mean, that's unfortunate because we're supposed to be relaxing with our friends and having a great time, but everybody knows that it's a pretty stressful time of the year. Whether it's like you have to finish shopping or you've got too many social engagements, which is actually a great problem to have. There's a lot that could trip you up during the holidays. And I think that, as much as we are not experts on any of this stuff we're talking about, I really feel like the important thing is the curiosity about it and to dive deeper into subjects. And that's what I've really loved about everybody who's been tuning in is they seem genuinely curious to just have a chat with us for an hour about everything we bring up. And I love that. So we're just going to get curious with each other. That's not terrible. About burnout, because this was personally something, yes, I did bring up this week because I was feeling like if I could just get through to this day, and you know what, I really don't like living way. I live for some future date where I can finally relax, but I also can't seem to help myself from making the choices that cause me to feel like that. So I'm interested in diving into some of these lists we've put together so that we can just kind of chat it out.
Yeah, some of this stuff I'm proud to say that I have been able to incorporate in my life. Some I have in the past that I've been slipping on lately, and some of it's completely new to me. But all of it is basically, because this is a fast-paced world, and there's so much that you can get caught up in that you just don't ever take any time for yourself, and getting busy living to me, that's why I was able to go 54 months in a row with some epic adventure every single month, because I always made it a point for me to work my tail off, but to pay myself for that, to reward myself with that. That's what kept me alive and kept me so eternally optimistic. I can't tell you how many times, like Melanie, just recently was introducing me to some of her friends, and she was like, this is the most optimistic, positive, eternally motivated, enthusiastic guy you'll ever meet. And I'm like, I don't feel that way lately, but apparently I've earned that reputation, because I have always tried to be like, if you just keep pushing and keep paying, that's how I've always been able to be optimistic about keeping on pushing. Because every time I would make progress, I would reward myself. To me, that's what getting busy living is. But you got to earn it. You can't just always be celebrating. There was a time, I think we talked about this actually in the past, that I got accused of being a trust fund baby multiple times in a short period of time a while back when I was living in Destin. And I thought that was crazy.
Which is pretty funny. Yeah, that is crazy, because if you actually know your story, that's a crazy thing to be accused of.
I'm like, I'm the brokest. So, I grew up poorer than anybody in my elementary school. I was the kid that got for being the poor kid, and you're accusing me of being a trust fund baby. Like, where's that come from? She's like, well, you're never like talking about work, so like you're never like trying to sell me anything, like tell me what you do for a living, and like you always seem like you're traveling, or you're always like able to go out, like if you're not like at home or on the beach with your daughter, like you're out with people doing fun shit and traveling. Like how do you do it? And I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know how we do it, follow some of the tips that we're going to share with you today. But first, I want to say what's up to some folks. Biz, we love you. That's true. Man, D Rex, I can't wait till we get to go back to Erie together. And
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that we gotta show some love to, and BIZ is one of them. And then CJ, Curtis Industry in the house. And oh, look, Louisa and Scott are in the house. What's up, Swells, my brother from another mother. Biz is like celebrating Christmas with my nephew and wanting to check in. Biz, we appreciate you. Tune in and tell your nephew to tune in, because seriously, y'all, the stuff that we're going to share today can help. It can help you to the point where you're able to get busy living. But we're going to lead you to the water. We can't make you drink it, but we got a whole pond worth of stuff here. And the first thing that I want to talk about, D Rex, is the things that can cause you to get burnout. Like, what is it about today's society? Like a high work demands. Like we have our a lot of us have our phones in our hands at all times, and our bosses at work know that. So if our bosses at work want to get a hold of us, they can at any moment. It's so much easier to burn out now than it was back in the day when you went home from work. Your boss is like not seeing you and not got any access to you until you get to work tomorrow morning. But a lot of us now, like boss sends an email, we come to work tomorrow morning and didn't answer it, even though it was like during dinner time with our family. Like that can place pressure on us. So that's something that can really lead to burnout. So if you're not like consciously aware of how to cut off and have boundaries, that can definitely lead to it, especially for those like yourself, D Rex, where I mean, you have an environment where your professional life is like your front door almost. You know what I mean? Like
No, it
how do
really
you
is.
separate?
I have a workplace that I go over to, and then when I come back to my house, that's another workplace for a different business, actually for a couple of different businesses. And especially during the holidays, it's like all business in my living room. So I
Yeah.
never really can get away from it. And it's something that I'm looking to try to do more of. I'm trying to separate out some time, because I realized the other day somebody asked me to join a book club. And you know what my answer was? I said, I want to read. And it was the saddest thing.
Oh,
I heard that come out of my mouth, and I was like, "Oh, I'm that person. I want to read. I just couldn't think of like where I was going to get the time. I need somebody else to structure it for me, like hand me the book so I don't have to pick anything out." And but I really think that if I start planning a chunk of my day where I do something that's not screen based and has nothing to do with work, that's really going to help me a bit more get away from that burnt out feeling.
absolutely. And look, Ray says some people don't stop. It's 24/7. And, you know, I think that's what you're describing, D Rex. And that's why I was so
Yeah.
happy to hear that you were out there getting busy living. And that's true for me as well. I mean, I do stop because I make it a point to. Um,
You're good at that. You are
and
really good at that.
yeah, but the thing is that there's some things out there. There's a lot of things that are working against us, making it so that we really can't do that. And look at Biz. He'll tell his nephew, the good thing about YouTube is you don't have to watch it live. People can watch it live or anytime after the live broadcast. Biz, that's true. Although we do like it when you're live because you get to interact with us, and also YouTube likes that also. And we are trying to make this into something that can sustain itself. What's up, Mike? In the house. Mike is a potential guest on the show. Mike, we need to talk more about that.
Nice.
Mike is a survivor as well. And you know how we love that survivor attitude here. But going back to some of the things about burnout, as far as like why we're susceptible to it, because it's important. If we understand why it's happening to us, that can help us be resistant to it, right? So we've already talked about how we're almost always available now because of our jobs. Another thing
And
is that
phones.
yeah, our jobs being accessible through our phones. But another thing is that there's so much competition out there. It's like we're so in tune with what the Joneses have, you know what I mean? And we're so aware of the economy that we feel like we got to be working. If we're not working, like we're not making progress, we're not keeping up, which is somewhat true, but man, everybody sleeps, and it's important, that you be aware of that, because we're gonna get to some tips on how to overcome those things. But that's another thing to be aware of, and um, the fact that
I don't. Oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I don't personally feel any need to keep up with the Joneses. But I mean, we should take a second to mention that the economy is a factor lately. I mean, it's putting a lot of financial stress on people, and that causes them to feel like they need to work as much as possible because the wages haven't really increased. So I think that we definitely should acknowledge absolutely longer inflation that we're living through right now, and how that's having a negative impact on people, and how that can cause burnout in itself, because you feel like, well, you actually do need to work all the time in order to make enough cash to get by.
Yeah, and so that's why these are just a few of the reasons why we're all feeling so inclined
Mhm.
to just push, and why I am notorious among my friends, especially the ones that I talk to regularly. Uh, even if I'm not hanging out with them regularly, I'm in touch with them and aware of their lives, and I'm always inviting them to this and inviting them to that. Let's do this, let's do that. I know, and I always hear those things that I just mentioned, like this work is pushing me too much, or I can't afford it, or I have this priority that's so important, and the priority is always work related. And that's why in the promo I did this week is about the Shining reminds me. I think that maybe possibly part of me, the reason that I am so hell bent on making sure that I getting my Busy Living in is because that movie affected me when I was a kid. You ever seen The Shining? Remember that?
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
How he went
Yeah.
crazy because he was like writing this book up in the boonies, and he's so isolated and secluded, and the all work and no play
Mhm.
makes Jack a dull boy. That saying has been in my heart like for years, and so it's kind of like I didn't want to go crazy like that, because there's a lot of drawbacks. So now that we've talked about things um, that set the table to make it easy for us to just keep work, and not ever busy living. Um, the reason that you don't want to do that, like your physical health suffers. First of all, like let's be real. I know that a lot of people don't even think about their physical health. We've talked about veganism here. We've talked about proper exercise here. We've talked about mental health here. So many people are so busy keeping up with the Joneses or competing at life or trying to struggle to keep up the economy that they don't even think about their personal health at all. It's like having a car and never ever giving it an oil change, never changing the brakes, never tuning it up. Just you have this body that you have and you don't take any care of it. So a lot of people, when I say your physical health is one of the reasons, it falls on deaf ears. You know, and it's crazy because the health and wellness industry is one of the leading industries on earth of what people spend money on. But you have this select few that spends tons of money on it, and then a lot of people that don't pay any attention on it at all. But it's very important. The
Yeah,
physical,
absolutely.
like getting.
And you know what? Even if it doesn't, even if it's not about like what you're eating, even just sitting at your desk endlessly for hours and hours, your back can go out, or you just lose your core muscle strength. Or like with you, when you start looking at your screen before the podcast and your eyes glaze over,
I get it bad.
there's
I get
definitely
it bad.
physical
I get it bad.
fallout.
My eyes have
So,
suffered big time, and I now know for sure that it's because of my phone, because I have done enough experiments on the way earlier to run some errands. I have perfect vision right now, and I haven't barely looked at my phone today at all. But if I wake up and look at my phone in the morning, or if while I'm working I look at my phone too much, or sometimes I get caught up in my phone. You can do just much on your phone as you can on your computer these days. And then I'll take
mhm.
my face out of my phone and go to look away from it, and I can't see anything. And so that
Mm.
is true, and that's something I have to be conscious of. And it's more of a setback than it is like a power move for me to not look at my phone. Usually, when that happens, I need to be productive. So luckily, thanks to technology, I've been able to do a lot of the stuff I use my phone for on my computer, but my eyes definitely are jacked up from it. And not only can your eyesight go bad or your back hurt from your work environment if you're working too much, or like I had a bad back from being in the car, because when I was in the car, I was a salesman and consultant for most of my late 20s and 30s. I had some management positions in there with bars, but always in between. And even when I was doing bartending at night just for fast cash, I always had a sales position, and the sales turned into consulting later. And I spent so much time in my car doing that, that my back actually got jacked up. And so you can have physical ailments from being stuck in that grind. And what's crazy is you can even weaken your immune system by
Yeah.
having a repeated cycle. Believe it or not, like our brain, the things like you talked about, getting out in nature, just being in nature and not thinking about all of this stimuli, because our bodies are not designed to have bright light screens and like headphones on, and all of this is such high frequency stimulus into our body that, believe it or not, even though as your life goes on, you just come to accept it and you don't realize it. It actually is drawing energy out of your body to respond to it or to process it, and that actually does weaken your immune system. That was something I found interesting when I was looking at this. And that's one that you would never consider, but wow, it's true. How crazy is that?
You know, before we expand on that, I'd like to show a little visual in case, and I need this visual myself, in case anybody needs some sort of reminder to get up off of their office chair and move around because they're overworking. You could definitely end up looking like, hold on a second. You can end up looking like this. This is what happens when you sit in the office chair for days and days and days. And all you have to do is just remember that picture, because that'll get you up, taking breaks away from your desk. And that's what I'm going to keep in my head for the new year. Take a break.
I gotta tell you, D Rex, because I'm always in this chair, that's what my backside looks like. Only worse, much worse, much worse. And Lori, I was me and Lori, Schaefer's mom, which by the way, we're going to talk about Schaefer here shortly, but Schaefer's mom and I are sharing a photos library, and I didn't realize that my photos were being automatically added to it. And my nurse was over here a few days ago, and they were like taking footage of the process, and, and she texted me, she's like, I think your personal library is, and I look to see what she could have seen, and there was a couple of pictures of like me and Melanie while we were hanging out last weekend, but there's also the video of my nurse in there, and I'm like recording them changing my wounds, bandage on my wounds, no. And I was like, oh my god, I hope she didn't throw up in her mouth seeing that.
You're unintentionally getting very close with this family in ways you never expected.
That I promise you, I'm sorry, Lori. Now I'm like trying to be a lot more cognitive of where my photos are going. Technology is great, but it can compromise some situations.
Now that you mentioned the weakened immune system, I have been so under the weather for the past month, and I've also been feeling completely burnt out for the last month. And I wonder what came first, the chicken or the egg, It probably was that I was feeling burnt out, and then my immune system went down a bit. And I caught this cold that has still not completely left my body. And I got sick around Thanksgiving. Like that was a long time ago. So I'm feeling the effects of that one, is all I'm trying to say.
So it's affecting your immune system, and it can affect us so many ways physically. It can also affect your mental health. We've talked in the past about, we've had shows about anxiety and depression, although maybe we didn't address the anxiety one head on. I think we might have. We definitely did depression. And when you're just on that hamster wheel, it's so easy to lose track of the things that make you happy in life. Anxiety and depression, the anxiety that like no matter how much you run, you're not getting anywhere. I'm sure we've all felt that, And by the way, if you're in the comments, speak up and say hello and tell us where you're from. And if you're feeling me, can I get a witness to it? Because anxiety and depression is real. And like it affects your mentals. Like you can't focus as well. Your brain doesn't work as good. If you're a student, you're not as good at school. If you're an employee, you're probably dragging ass at work. I mean, you can actually, like Ray says, man, he's like, working too hard can make you sick. For real. It really can. And
I mean,
and
it's not how humans are designed. It's not what we're designed to do.
No.
I mean, we're also not designed to just laze away on the beach for the rest of our lives either. But we're not designed to work ourselves into the ground.
Sometimes I think that's what the universe was trying to tell me, because when I was in Bali, I surely was lounging on the beach a lot and drinking a lot of beer, and I always felt like I was going to make an impact in some way on this world. But at that stage of my life, I retired before I hit 40 and was laying on a tropical island, like daughter in college degree, enough money for me to live my life. I probably wasn't gonna do much, and I think the universe was like, all right. You've abused the privilege. Now you got to go back to work. Here, let me get your legs. But I definitely wasn't burning out at that stage. And I honestly don't want to ever get too far past the peak like I was there, because it was downhill from there. I had quite the. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of me in the hospital when I first got injured, but I wasn't exactly ripped. I had quite the little beer belly going on there.
Hmm.
you know. So
I will have to
that's
revisit that video.
that's an
You know,
extensive.
like, and you were saying we were going to share about Schaefer soon, but I feel like maybe that's something that we need to address, is that when we have a goal, like, we're trying to raise this money for Schaefer to get his stem cells. When you have a goal that big, that you've been working so hard on, it's to lose sight of your little wins. And when your focus is on that big goal, you can feel like you're not getting anywhere, and that can also lead to burnout. So it's something I want you to be careful of, because I know how hard you're working on getting Schaefer funded, and just focus on those little wins along the way, because those little wins, they definitely add up.
Yeah, I think we talked about this recently. Like, it not only can hurt you physically, but it can make you hurt. Like Ray said, working too hard can make you sick. It can also make you sad. Feeling burnout, you can be drained, and then you just like detach yourself. Like you've told your friends no, thank you so many times because you're committed. You know what I mean? And it's like, um, you can just like feel regretful that you haven't called your friends in them forever, and the last few times they called you, you said no thank you, and now you're like, you don't want to call them, and like it can be emotionally exhausting too. Like, it can lead to hopelessness, and then when you get to that point, then it affects your productivity. If you're not hurt physically, or you're not sick, and you're hurt physically, or you're sick, or you're sad, one of them, like, then you're hurting your productivity. And the whole reason you're burning out is because you're trying to be productive, right? And then you're trying so hard that it becomes counterproductive. Whether you're not as efficient, or you're not as motivated, or you don't concentrate as well. Like, it just hurts your overall well-being. It can strain your relationships, and then you're not doing as good at work as you should be. It's just all the. It's kind of like it's kind of like burning your rubber so fast that your car no longer is a race car because the rubber is worn off and it doesn't have traction. You know what I mean? Like, it can really.
Yeah.
Burnout is and the reason that this is a relevant subject that we're bringing it to you guys, we're trying to help you get busy living. Okay. That's what I was doing before I got injured. I like to think that because I was doing that I was leading by example, and that's why I had so much support, is because people were proud of what I was doing, and I was trying to pull as many of them along as I could with me, and I was inspiring a lot. I still, to this day, my boy Nasty Ness is in Japan. And he texted me, and I texted him, told him I was proud that he was there. We've been talking about going there for 20 years, the fearsome foursome, and he finally got there, man. And I was like, damn, bro, I feel like I should be there with you, as much as we've talked about going, and you're there now, and I'm proud of him, man. He's there and he's living it. But he told me in so many words that it's partially because of the lead that I was, and trying to inspire people to get out, and get something. And so what we hope to bring you each week is some sort of inspirational story, whether it's somebody else's story and their testimonials and their techniques for getting busy living, or just mindset, personal development type stuff to be aware of, things that can possibly set you back from getting busy living. And we've already talked about what burnout is, and how if you don't ever take any time to get busy living, how it can affect your physical health, your mental health, or it can make you sad and sick, and then you become counterproductive, and then your spirits start to like die off. You can start having chronic conditions, like feeling sick for a long period of time. Can make you sicker, and your body can shut down. Ray says, hey, you bear it all. Oh, speaking of bearing, check this out. My hat.
What is it? Get closer.
Oh, I get it now. Over my head. Check out my hat. Schaefer Squad. Check out my
Oh, nice. Oh,
Schaefer
this is
Squad gear.
awesome.
Check it
Tell
out.
us
So
more
good.
about this.
All right, so I got a video for you.
Oh, sookie now, just in time for Christmas, but no time to wait. So go to the hswa.org and click on the menu dots where you'll find the donate tab that leads to the Schaefer Squad merch link. Scroll past the greeting to find our wide range of Schaefer Squad merch, from adult tees, kid tees, onesies, and beanies for the babies, adult hoodies, hats and kicks, an apron for the cook, a hoodie for the pet, and a puzzle for the family. All prices include the outrageous cost of shipping, and all proceeds go toward helping Schaefer get a potentially life-changing stem cell treatment. You gotta believe it. And always remember, we're all in this together.
See it when you see me, but you gotta believe me. Ain't nothing coming easy my way. No, I fucking work for this.
Amazing. That is so cool. That is so cool.
I just I did order some shirts for me and some shirts for the Mezzicapos and some gear for them. And the shipping, this just arrived today. And the shipping, unfortunately, it might not make it to you by Christmas. It's I honestly have learned so much in this new endeavor, D-Rex, this trying to do a nonprofit thing and a podcast thing about me, you know. And I've learned so much about so many different industries to be able to do this. And I never thought I would be like selling stuff online, but like, so I never tried to learn e-commerce very well. And then I'm trying to offer books in exchange for donations and merchandise like gear and hats and stuff in exchange for donations. And it's a world that I was not experienced in. I just only experienced in buying shit. And and learning the whole process of shipping. I'm so spoiled by Amazon that when I was setting all this up and then I saw what shipping meant, like the whole extra level of execution that was necessary. I thought that the platform that I hooked up with, like that was all built in, and I found out the hard way that it wasn't. So luckily, they, people are very forgiving when it comes to supporting a nonprofit, because if not, I wouldn't be able to, it wouldn't be worth it. So the cost of these items for you to get them to you does include shipping, because if I didn't do that, some of them you wouldn't order it. You would click on it and you'd be like, nope, I'm not doing that. Like if I told you that this any object only costed, it cost $30 to you, and you thought that $30 of that, 25 was going to us and only 5 was going to shipping, then you'd be like, okay, no problem. Or as long as, but if you thought that 25 of it was going to shipping, you'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. So not to discourage people from participating, I included the shipping into it. And so that, it's not extremely, it's not generating a lot of revenues, but it is generating spirit. It gives people an opportunity to be proud of what they're doing, and every little bit helps. And I appreciate.
But it also is it builds awareness, and I think that is important in itself.
Yeah, and he's the cutest little dude, man. I'm telling you, look at his.
The swag looks awesome. It looks great.
Yeah, he's a cool dude, man. And he's a hard worker, and I love seeing the videos of Schaefer working at it, man. When Lori first hit us up on nominations at the hswa.org for anybody that has somebody that they have a story to tell that they feel stem cells could help, send their story to nominations at the hswa.org. That's THEHSWA.org. When I first, started looking at it, man, he's so easy to fall in love with, man. Like watching the videos of him, like really like, he's like going at it. Like, I feel like I'm watching a Rocky movie every time I watch Schaefer doing his thing, and,
Yeah.
and he's just such a hard work. But speaking of hard work, we're talking about burnout. Like, I'm not trying to tell anybody to be less productive. In fact, I'm trying to tell you to avoid burnout by getting busy living once a month with me. You don't have to do it with me, but with me, because I'm doing it. So we're both doing it. Even if we're not together, we're all in this together. But sometimes you have to actually, you might, if you want to be able to pull it off, and you have so much to do, that like your time is taken, then that just means if you're used to working, 5 days a week, 10 hours a day, that's 50 hours a week. That means if you need a day off, you might need to work 4 hours or 13 hours a day for 4 days. But that gets you a day off. And if you do that 2 weeks in a row, that gets you 2 days off. And what's that get you? That gets you a 4-day weekend once a month. And a 4-day weekend is getting busy living. So that's what it's going to take for me to get up to Seattle and back. I'm going to watch the Steelers in Seattle on New Year's. So who's coming with me? But straight up, man. And I work extra hard, and I work ahead in order to do it, and it's important to know working hard and working smart, because you can work too hard, like working smart and working hard. They're two different approaches, and different strategies. Working hard, like, typically refers to like putting in significant effort, time, and energy to do it. You know what I mean? And like the emphasis on the quantity of the work, and it's about how many hours you work, and it's also like, it's like you got to be persistent. You got to charge hard, back to the grind, grind. And that's like there's strong work ethic there, and you're worrying up. You're like focused on persevering and getting through it, and you're willing to work extra hours to achieve your goals. And we're talking about accomplishing those things, and getting the job done and being successful. But you can do it smart. You can work smarter, right? And by working smarter, it's like it's maximizing. It's being more efficient. So you're still getting that. You're still getting in that same amount of outcome, the same results, but you're getting there better, and that it's like there's a focus on being efficient, and like it's like prioritizing which things are most important, and focusing on them first, because a lot of times the less important things are easier to get done, and you find yourself bored after you've done the hard work, and you're like, okay, I'm cool. And then the easy ones seem easier after you just got done doing the hard ones. So like prioritizing which ones are going to be harder and easier is helpful. Being strategic about getting the job done, not just like putting your nose down. I just put my nose down and work like that's how you burn out.
That's me.
I got on.
And you know what?
I got on a soapbox.
It's not only just working too hard. Like, it's very possible around the holidays to burn out from too many social engagements, from not working at all, because you have too many things to volunteer at. You got cookie drive at school, then you've got like 3 parties this weekend, and there's no time to rest. There's no time to read the book for your book club, and so it is possible to also be too social and be burnt out. There's and there's lots of ways to be burnt out, but let's talk about some of the ways that you can get away from being burnt out, some of the ways that you can take a break from your treadmill of work. And the first thing is just to be able to say no. You have to be able to say no to things that you really don't care about, things that are not serving you. And it's hard to do for some people. It's not hard for me. I say no all the time. But for a lot of people, it's very hard to say no, because there's some pride involved with that. You don't want to let people know that you can't do it,
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought of the pride angle, because that is something that's hard for me, is saying no. I'll be honest. People ask me for help. I try to help, and it's hard for me to say no. And I often fall behind and don't get all the things I need to get done. Or my problem is that I usually get things done, but I'll be honest, like, so much about my life right now, I'm not doing very well. This podcast, there's lots of room for improvement, and I just don't have the time. So I'm trying to like the thing is, like we talked about in the beginning of this podcast, I'm trying to figure out what I've done in the past that where I didn't say I didn't have the time. Like, what were the things? What were the hacks? And that's why I was just talking about like prioritizing and being strategic. I've realized recently that I've not been as excellent as I should, and that the things that have been holding me back are not changing. Like my physical health, because of this condition, and my physical limitations are not going away. And so,
Mhm.
in order for me to in order for me to eat everything I've bitten off, or to swallow everything I'm chewing, I guess probably a better way to put it is, I have to start strategizing. I have to start prioritizing. I have to start like being more efficient, and that's why I love this topic, because I know when we have a topic that we want to share, if we don't already, a lot of times we just speak from our hearts, but a lot of times it's better to, especially when it's things that we're working on, to do some research, and these are the things that I've discovered that are helpful techniques to help with getting this stuff done, and doing that research. Because I have to get better. I have to start doing a better job. I'm getting things done, but they're taking longer, and they're not done as up to a quality or a standard that I'm used to.
Well, I am working my tail off right now, and some things are getting done, and some aren't. But when I'm feeling like, okay, I can't even figure out how to start prioritizing. Like my head is just spinning. One of the things I know I can always go back to that kind of resets me as a human being is just cook something from scratch. Go to the store, get a whole bunch of produce, and just simply cook from scratch. Just chop the vegetables, wash the vegetables, cook them nicely, add the things that you know taste good, nourish your body with something from the earth that you made with your hands. Just be a human being, That's definitely something I always go back to when I can't even start to think.
I love that, and that reminds me of something that you said first. I just wanted to let Ray ring out.
Mm-hmm.
The whole month of December makes everyone sick, mental and physical, because we put too much in. Oh, the whole month of December can D, that's hot.
Oh
What?
no, he had to finish it in the next.
Oh, oh, he's talking about the merchandise. That's hot. Gonna score some. Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Ray. Please do, man. You're helping the cause, and man, you guys are gonna feel so proud of yourselves when Schaefer is on his way to Panama. You guys are gonna feel so proud of yourselves, every single one of you that chips in. And yeah, Ray, you're right, man. I mean, trying to help ways to help get people to help us help him, and it is minimal, right? And back to the point, you should always take time for yourself. Can't have a happy life if you're not happy. Amen, brother. That's the point, man. That's one of the overlying messages of this podcast is having a happy life, and I believe that you have to take time for yourself to enjoy it, and so what are some things that stop it from happening? Well, we've talked about emotional intelligence that can get in the way. Talked about learning to forgive people. A lot of us are so heavy-hearted because we're mad at people that we can't get anywhere in life. We can't think about being happy, And now we're talking about not getting too burnt out. Like go look at our past episodes, man. We've been dropping knowledge on y'all for a year and 3 months now. D Rex, congratulations.
Yeah, we are 1 year and 3 months old.
Hell yeah, straight dropping knowledge
You know
on you
what?
guys.
I'd like to.
Sometimes not always knowledge. I can't lie. A lot of bullshit there too.
Yeah, sometimes it's just pictures of some green monster butt that I throw up on the stage there. But another thing that I think anybody can do, costs no money, and one of the most basic ways to reset yourself when you find yourself spinning into burnout, get yourself out into nature. Get your eyes on some nature, get some wind in your hair, get your feet in some grass or some water. Get back to being a human being, because I really feel like it would be impossible to be burnt out if you were doing those basic human things like cooking and growing your own food, or walking through grass in your bare feet. Could you be burnt out? I don't think so. You got to get back to those basic human needs when you're feeling burnt out, because you're feeling burnt out because you're doing things that aren't natural to humans. You're on your computer all day. You're trying to get your spreadsheet in order. You got your taxes looming. You got your rent to pay. I mean, these are not natural human ways of existing. So it's important to get back to your true human self when you're feeling burnt out. Listen to me preaching like I actually do this. I need to do this, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you do it. Don't stop bullshitting. You do it more.
Okay.
You've been getting better at it, and that's why it's relevant. And another thing that's good advice that you mentioned recently that you're not going to give yourself credit for was you were just talking about cooking, about making things with your hands, how therapeutic that can be.
Yes.
So there are ways to avoid burning out that that will help you get in busy living, and that's what we're here about. And another way, you were just mentioning about doing your taxes and stuff like that. These are things that need done, guys. But another way to avoid burning out and feeling stressed is to properly budget your money and keep up with your books. And I admit this is something that, like I said in the beginning, some of these things I've been good at, some of these things I've been better at and before, and I'm trying to regain my level of execution is keeping up with my books. And keeping my finances really highly intact. And I have to do that with the HSWA, but I've slipped up. Nobody's perfect. I've slipped up big picture wise. And I know that that's going to help me alleviate some of the stress and allow me to relax more and appreciate my life, But, when I'm talking about budgeting, I'm talking about and keeping up with your books, like know how much money you have every month and know how much money you have to spend every month. Have to spend as in like you must spend on just making ends meet, and know how much you have to play with. In fact, if you can do that on a weekly basis, if you can know your monthly budget and execute it on a weekly basis, like I know that I'm going to earn this much in these next 2 weeks. That means this week I need to pay these bills, and this week I have this much to spend. If you have that number in your head, just as a rolling number, especially for those of us that are living check to check, which I saw a stat lately, stats are always made up, but I saw a survey that said that 50-something%, like almost 60% of Americans, if they didn't get their check this week, they wouldn't be able to pay a bill, and utility would get shut off. So more than half Americans are living that close to to even or zero, and so we're budgeting ahead, knowing ahead of time what you need is important. And when we were talking earlier about being more efficient and strategize your money out. Know how much you're going to make in the next month and the next year. Know how much bills you have to pay. And if you are addicted to cigarettes, don't not put that in your budget. You're going to buy that shit, so put it in there. And don't fool yourself. Be honest about what you need to get by. So that when you have a number in your head that you can afford to spend on yourself, because we're talking about earning the right to get busy living, have that number in your head and include all your dirty little secrets in your budget too, so that when you do have that number in your head, you can spend it guilt-free. Like if you do your monthly budget and you got 500 extra and you want to go on a cruise for 400, but you didn't put your cigarettes in there, and then all month long you're buying your cigarettes, damn well you don't have 400 for that cruise because you didn't even include your cigarette money in there. I don't even know how much cigarettes are these days, but that's one that people
they're super expensive
will omit, and the benefits of being confident about your dollars, even if you're not making so much that you want to brag about how much you're making, it's about how you use what you're making and having a grip on that, and that, I'm telling you, the freedom that comes with knowing what you have to spend. It's easier to get busy living when you know you can afford it. You don't have to be making a lot of money. You just have to be making enough to make ends meet and treat yourself once a month. And here's some tips. How about figuring out ways to do it inexpensively? How about not having a champagne and caviar taste on a beer and barbecue budget? If you're the type of person that Swede, if I'm going to go, I'm going to Italy and I'm going on a Mediterranean cruise. and it's $2,000. You know damn well you have never had $2,000 extra in your life. Then don't have the champagne and caviar budget or dreams. You know, um, be real with yourself. Um, Also, choose a lifestyle where you have the freedom to take time off. If you're a doctor and you have to work 60 hours a week, 6 days a week to be able to cover your school bill and keep your practice afloat, it's going to be harder, But most doctors have the authority to be able to, take a Friday and a Monday off. You don't have to do it every single month. I realize that not everybody can. Be committed, and I'm committed to what I'm doing too. I just work extra to be able to make up for it each month. And it's
And
all
not
it's all
everybody
about
has that
strategy.
flexibility in their not everybody has that flexibility to just take extra days off. And I understand that it's harder these days than ever to stop working for a day. But there's something to be said for hustling ahead of time. If you can cram that in there, hustling ahead of time so that you can take those days off, because otherwise you're just nickel and diming your life away by working constantly instead of piling them onto the same day and then taking some time off. You're just gonna take from yourself constantly with no rest if you don't do that.
Exactly. Ray's like, now you're like Ray Dalio. Yeah, it really is important that it's so easy these days to just be so overstimulated and so programmed and conditioned to just reap, wash, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, work, you know, shower, kid, school, and then after kid school, then boss, lunch break, and coworkers, and then home, kid dinner, and then 5 days a week, and then sometimes six, and then on the weekends it's like soccer, and then it's like it's so easy
Yeah, the
to get
weekends
into
are all
that.
taken
Yeah, and look,
up.
I'm not saying that lifestyle is not worthwhile and fulfilling and fruitful to be dedicated to your family and have a grind. That's not what I'm saying. I said I realize not everybody can do it once a month. That's my personal goal because that's what's giving me my ultimate level of joy and happiness in my life is to make it. But there's a long time there for years, while I was in the nursing facility and I wasn't able to do those kinds of things, So believe me, I went from 54 months in a row to nothing, being in bed for, what? I was in bed for 11 months without getting out of bed once, except for to get into a stretcher. And that was from the time I arrived in Phoenix to the time I got surgery. Before that, I was in Malaysia for 6 months and I got out of bed, but it was to get into a wheelchair to go to therapy. But barely ever did I go anywhere else. Like I went to the barber once or twice and I went out to eat once or twice, but it was so hard and I was not healthy enough to be able to do it. So I
Mm.
built up this like real thirst, like this starvation for it. By the time I got out, I was ready to figure this thing out, and I am proud to say, as I sit here and we wind down, that I have been able to pull off quite a bit in the past few years
Yeah,
um,
I would say.
while getting busy living. While getting busy living. So I hope that you guys recognize that we're not perfect, but we aspire for this, and we want to share our experiences with you, um, and we hope that you'll join us. We have some room for growth. I'm going to be taking classes starting soon on nonprofit management and how to grow this foundation to one that is actually making an impact like you guys have impacted my life. So any of you guys that want to put your hand in the pile and help us try to get Schaefer there, we could use help with event planning. We could use help with web design and social media marketing and all that kind of stuff. It's stuff that we recognize are necessary for this thing to be successful and for you guys to get your out of us. But it's just, we're both very, very highly and heavily occupied as well, So
Mhm.
Ray, I appreciate you for showing up, man. It's always a pleasure to have you too. He says, I always
Yeah,
feel
we
better
love
when I
you
listen.
too.
Yeah. And to all you guys that are watching that weren't speaking up, we appreciate you too. D Rex, um, I think that the fact that you were already so heavily um, obligated, and you've been able to add this to your plate and do such a spectacular job at it for the past year and a half, makes you an
Well,
expert
thank
on
you.
this, even though you come to the table with a lot of humility and admitting your the things you're guilty of more quickly than you brag about the things you do well that we've talked about today. You are an expert, and we missed you last week. I'm glad to have you back.
I'm an expert on burnout. Yes, I agree.
But
Just before we go, I really wanted to know if you had any plans for any new challenges or New Year's resolutions, any way of shaking up your life in the near future, because we do like to do this every once in a while, and I always think it's so fun to go through these challenges. You got any ideas?
I definitely have things that I need to gain some consistency on, and we've done things in the past, like we did Veganuary. We've done the Chet's
Mhm.
challenge, where well, you've done that.
No
Um,
nonsense November.
no nonsense November. Um, I got to be honest. After No Nonsense November, I've been operating at a much higher capacity, and I'm not saying that I'm not willing to take on a new challenge, but I haven't been premeditating on that because I've been feeling like I've been in stride, and
Mhm. Mhm.
although I'm not perfectly executing all the things I just talked about, I need help with, the event planning and the web design and social media marketing. These are things
Yeah.
that I need help with. It's not because I don't think they're important and I'm not doing them. It's because I'm so heavily obligated elsewhere.
Oh,
Um,
there's so many jobs to do. You couldn't possibly do them all.
I'm doing a little bit of them all. I'm just not doing
Yeah.
any of them well enough for you
Well,
guys to be able
that's
to
why
tell.
we need help. That's why we need help, because these are all things that just simply one person cannot handle them all at 100%.
And I'm not alone. I mean, I've got people, that are helping me,
Yeah. Yeah,
including
for sure.
yourself, um, but we're looking to build a community, and I
Mhm.
admit that I have not spent much time, if any, outside of this show trying to recruit for this show. So if people that are actually open to it aren't listening, then it's we're what do they what do they call it? Yelling down a hallway or peeing in a well, or just it's like falling on deaf ears, or there aren't any
Uh-huh.
ears. There aren't any ears. Like but that we do have, we've got I get my share of thank yous and keep goings, and we do have people that watch, and I'm thankful for them.
Mhm.
They don't always show up. Like Biz showed up earlier, and kind of got a peek at what we were going to be talking about, and was like, "All right, I'll watch this later."
Which,
you know,
that's great too. We just appreciate when people hang out with us, whether it's live or later. It's definitely more fun when it's live because we can talk back and forth, but we also love when you watch it later. So thanks for watching.
yeah. And speaking of which, I got something else to show you, just to remind you what we're doing this for. So we got this. We got this raffle going on. We have the Life Near Swedisms book is available. Go to the hswa.org, reserve your copy. It's $50 to reserve a copy. Once we get 1,000 copies, we're going to ship all the books, and we're going to send Schaefer to Panama because we'll be able to afford his treatment. And if we do well with the merch, we might get him there sooner. But then we also are going to pull 2 names out of the hat and send them to 1 name out of the hat, and them plus 1 we're sending to Alaska. And the Adventurous Alaska giveaway is bound to be the most epic thing you've ever done in your life, unless you're an extreme epic adventurist. Go back and watch the episode that Scooty Wells did a couple months ago, or maybe I guess about 2 months ago now, where he described just a part-time. We're going to do another episode because there's plenty more to talk about. But he talks about what an epic adventure in Alaska with Adventures Alaska and Scooty Wells would be like. So by all means, guys, help us out. We want to get this guy down there. Once we prove that we have the power to make this happen on a small scale, just with grassroots styles, then I believe that we'll be able to get much bigger fish to help us get into bigger ponds. So just need your help on a small scale. So share, and talk about us, and keep doing your part. We appreciate that. So D Rex, every week you show up and you always nail it.
Oh, well, thank you. I really feel like we both knew a lot about this topic today, unfortunately, but hopefully it's going to help somebody out there find their way through their own burnout period.
Yeah. What I've loved about this show over the course of the past year plus is oftentimes it's after we've proclaimed it to the world, if it's new information for us, that's wonderful. Many times it is. If it's stuff that we just needed reminders, then proclaiming it like this is a very strong reminder. And I honestly, I feel like a far higher quality and higher caliber individual now, after all the lessons we've learned from our guests in the past, and all the research that we've done, and all the preaching and following through that we've done. So if you haven't been with us up to this point, get with us and stay with us, because little by little we're getting busy living. So D Rex, have I told you later that I loved you?
No, tell me again.
I love you. Thank you every week.
I love you too.
Please always remember, we're all in this together. Always remember, no matter the weather, whether sunshine or rain, there's no joy without pain. Always remember, we're all in this together. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
But you gotta